All right, it's a running joke in the room. Yes, my nose was running, but I have cleared my sinuses. So, yeah. Welcome everyone. My name is Warwick Scott. I am the CEO of the Wendell Scott Foundation. We are here tonight, this evening, celebrating a momentous occasion. Obviously, Martinsville Race Week is a huge event here in the South Side of Virginia, and we are most proud to be a part of that. And obviously, as you can see here tonight, we have some legends on stage to help commemorate this race happening, but also the evolution of the Wendell Scott brand and the Wendell Scott Foundation. So welcome to Legendary Conversations. This is our second installment of Legendary Conversations. And we find it extremely appropriate to be able to have you all here with us this evening. Okay, so with no further ado, we want to get involved. We're going to have some intimate conversations. We have two legendary individuals here on stage with us this evening. I'll start with my father, Mr. Frank Scott. All right, let's give him a big round of applause. Here locally, he is known as Coach Scott. I'm sure some of us know him as Coach Scott. But before he was Coach Scott, he spent his entire childhood as one of my grandfather's most trusted confidants. He was one of the original members of the first African-American pit crew to ever exist within NASCAR. And he went on to grow and mature into the role of crew chief for my grandfather. And so he holds several distinctions, including being the first African-American crew chief in the history of NASCAR. And I think that's worth a round of applause. He's also a world-class grandfather, world-class uncle, world-class dad, and that deserves a round of applause. Now, long before there were people like Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, people like that, there was a gentleman who was the most prolific NASCAR driver of his era, of his time, in my opinion, ever. Okay. He is someone who has led by example throughout the duration of his career. His heart, the generosity, the philanthropy that he has brought forth is untold and, in my opinion, unrivaled. He has certainly stepped in and filled a great void in my life as I have championed my grandfather's legacy and continued to do the work to uplift his name. But this particular gentleman has stood next to me and with me and spent great time with me, giving me great knowledge, great tutelage. And I've had a wonderful opportunity to spend time with his family who's here with us tonight. And so, like I said, long before there was a Tom Brady with his, how many rings? Six ring, Jordan had 6. Well, who we have here tonight, and we should get excited about this. We have the 7-time, I'm gonna say it, 7-time NASCAR champion. The king himself, Mr. Richard Petty. Yeah. So we have many distinguished people here in the audience tonight, and I don't want to start naming names because I feel like I may forget. But as the conversation is going on, we'll be sure to point out certain people that play a specific role in the conversation in regards to what entity they do represent. Okay, so with no further ado, I know you all have been waiting. Let's get this legendary conversation going. All right. So, all right. So, gentlemen.
How old do you think I am?
Are you somewhere right in 40? You 45-ish.
You had me playing with Babe Ruth.
I didn't say Babe, but you know, you look so good. You've held on for so, you look so good that I don't think.
Doesn't it look good?
Doesn't it look good? All right. You know,
I've never done anything dangerous. I'm always walk a straight line.
Always walk the straight line. But I think some of your fans in the audience may beg to differ, but we'll get a little deeper into that. This conversation this evening is rather intricate and extremely unique. For as much as you think you know about the Petty family, or as much as you think you know about the Scott family, what you will hear tonight are some intricate conversations and some valuable memories that these gentlemen share about their upbringing, about their trajectory through the sport, and even how it feeds into today in regards to STEM education, diversity, and all the things that matter to all of us who want to focus on a better community. What I would like to start with is I would like to ask you guys, when do you remember meeting? Daddy, what's your first recollection?
Well, when I first, in 1961, we were racing in Bristol. And I was too young to get a minors release license at the time. So Morris Mepcap, anyway, he asked Miss Petty, Rich's wife, if she would take me under her wing. She taught me how to score. She said, how you do when the thing flipped down, write that number. And the most amazing thing was, she asked me if I wanted some lunch. You know, I hadn't had anything to eat. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I got some sandwiches here. I said, boy, I'm getting ready to eat some roast beef now. She had me a sandwich, the best sandwich I ever tasted in my life. It was pineapple, lettuce, and mayonnaise. Right, Rich? Yeah, that was the best sandwich I ever had, but she was very, very elegant and very kind to me. It made me feel welcome. We had just moved into cup racing, didn't know a lot of people. And she made me feel comfortable. So the relationship grew from then. And Daddy and Richard, they were just, you know, just ace buzz. He was just, he thought the world of him. If we needed something, we'd go down to Level Cross and get a aluminum radiator or get some parts that we needed. So that's how far I go back as a young teenager.
You know, I don't really remember the first time that Wendell and them showed up. To me, when Wendell came, it was just another job. I mean, and we need people to fill the field more or less. And Wendell came in, and there was 3 or 4 of the guys that didn't really accept Wendell. The majority of the guys, Ned Jarrett, myself, a bunch of guys, they're just another race car driver. And so we accepted him from that standpoint. And I guess what I admired about Wendell as much as anything, he was a family man. When he came, it was like the Petties. He brought his whole family with him. You know what I mean? So it was a family affair. So when they worked on the car together, they went everywhere together, they traveled together. And so that made me take notice, because a lot of the guys, especially back then, they come with their girlfriend, or, you know, come in and just come in and do the racing and go away.
Right.
But you notice right quick that Wendell was dedicated to racing. In other words, Wendell didn't say, like my father, he said, if I work this right, I can make a living for me and my family. And, you know, I always look back, and Wendell made enough with the racing to be able to send his kids to college. I mean, that was just unreal to me. You know, well, I guess of all the accomplishments, to me, taking care of the family in that way was way above anything you ever done in racing.
I can appreciate you saying that. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Petty, for those who don't know, what led you into racing?
Well, I got into racing because my dad was racing.
Yes, sir.
Same
Tell us
way
about it.
as he got involved. And I started working on the cars when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and just kept working on the cars. Dad was lucky, was winning races, championships. And when I got to be 21 years old, then I started driving. So that's like a farmer and a farmer's son. You know, a farmer's son grows up doing farming. He don't know anything else. So when it came my time to try the driving part, he said, there's a car over in the corner, get it ready. So, you know, Bill Emmons, first, second cousin, been my crew chief all these years. We worked on the car. We'd work on Daddy's car, and then we got through with it, slip over there and work on my car. And so we got ready, ran our first race in 1958. So it was a start of a deal. And, you know, I never drove a race car. I hadn't go-karts or motorcycles, and that stuff. So we go to Columbia, South Carolina, and we run the race. And I think I wound up sixth or something. And so coming back up the road, I told Dale, I said, I think I'm gonna like this driving. Maybe because when I drove, I didn't have to work on the car.
Got it. Got it.
So Dale said, what always made a good driver was somebody that was too sorry to work.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Dad, so you, good point, as you started out at a very young age, working in the pits, working on the garage, preparing the car. What is your earliest recollection? So for those of you who don't know, my father and my late Uncle Wendell Jr. were working, building the race car at the earliest of ages. I would say I've watched documentaries where I think you said 7 or 8 years old.
Learning tools.
Learning tools.
What a 916 was.
What was it like for you, or do you have a recollection of the first time that you were in the pits? You going from the garage, you prepared the car, you're rolling. When did you enter the pits? I think it has something to do with a little age documentation, forging some stuff. But when did you?
Well, what happened? Daddy needed brother and I was 14, but you had to be 16 to get a miner's release license.
Okay.
We rode down. I was 16. Bruce and brother raised his age because he was 14 months older than me. We upped his age too. We were able to get the miner's release. We were able to go into the pits then. And so then when we came of age and we were filling out the thing for the license, he said, wait a minute, y'all been lying about your age. So that was what there was. But I was involved with my father, raced modified sportsman. Dad raced 6 nights a week and 2 times on Sunday in old modified days. Anywhere was a track, he put that tow bar and he'd go to the track. So we were racing. People said, well, he raced 495 cup races, but he raced another 2,000 other races everywhere. So I was always with him and we learned to do things and we all had a job to do. One of Dad's mottos is, you can't swim standing on the bank. And he wouldn't let us have a phone in the garage. That was another thing. Nobody gonna be called, you don't get no phone calls. And
no cell phone?
Well, no cell phone then. no rotary phone. And I remember if we happen to just stop and not doing it, he'd say, hey boy, you can't swim standing on the bank. Get in the water.
Yeah.
So that was what it was. But it was a family affair. Everybody in the family pretty much had a role at some point. But it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. But this gentleman sitting beside me right here, I have most admiration for him. And I'm gonna tell something, he might fuss with me. When my daddy got hurt at Talladega, he was in the hospital 19 days in Birmingham. When he got home, he received some mail from Richard Petty with a amount. I'm not gonna tell him out. Then a few weeks later, he got another envelope with a note. He said, Wendell, hope this helps. If anything I can do for you, let me know. But he didn't have to do that. NASCAR didn't do it. They didn't do it. But I mean, that's been an admiration that we've had for him all the time. He deserves it.
Can you clarify to the people, can you share, and you're talking about the Talladega wreck?
Yeah.
Correct. Can you share with the audience the severity of the injuries and what that was?
Yes.
Because you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
What that was like in that moment.
His left leg was broken 7 places. His pelvic was cracked on both sides. All his ribs were broken. His arm, all the muscle, everything was just a piece of skin. It was laying down on his shoulder. When the wreck happened, he started 58th. Leonard Woods came over and tuned our carburetor. We had never had a 429 Ford engine. Okay. And so he was listening to that. He came and said, Wendell, David was already getting on the pole, David Pearson. He said, that car was covered. He said, you like me to tune your carburetor? And Dad said, yeah, of course. We didn't know anything about 429 or that big carburetor. So he rejetted it and that thing was flying. The first lap, they had passed 18 cars on the first lap. And, and before the accident happened. So, but after the accident happened, it's sort of severe accident. And so my brother, Wendell Jr., took off to the site of the wreck. I took off to the infield hospital. So when I got to the hospital, I went in, his body was just like covered, sprayed with red paint, blood was everywhere. So he said, we got to get him to Birmingham. So ambulance, and they told me I could ride up front. I said, no, I'm gonna ride with my daddy. So I sat right back there with him. He was hurting so bad, every bump. So we got to the, I'm gonna tell you this, and we're gonna get off of this one. We got to the emergency room. They said, we'll come back and let your father. I said, no, I can go with my dad. So they maybe put on the apron, shoes and everything. And the first thing they did was prioritize his injuries, which was that bleeding, They sewed his arm back on, his muscle right here. And so Dad was laying there and he did like this. He said, it left something in my arm. And I told Dr. Bliss, that was his name. I said, Dr. Bliss, Dad said you left something in his arm. He said, well, Mr. Scott, I can assure you if it was something, you couldn't feel it. All them needles, it was hitting him about 12 long needles. Dad said, no, take my arm back loose. So I told Dr. Bliss, I said, do me a favor. I said, take the stitches back loose and just look in there. He cut the stitches back loose and all this. And he had a long pair of tweezers. And he reached down in there and picked up, I don't know if it was metal or glass, but he dropped it in that tin pan. That thing said, ting. He looked at my dad. He said, I never met you. He said, but you're a hell of a man.
Isn't that something? That's amazing. That's amazing. But Mr. Petty, if I may ask, do you remember a particular incident or accident that you had throughout your career that sticks out, one that was maybe more tragic than the other? To the viewers, I know we have some NASCAR aficionados here in the room, but some people just watch NASCAR on TV, never been to a racetrack, don't understand the embankments or the degrees or the turns or how the heat on the track plays into different things. And so what you're looking at is a virtual optical illusion. And there's high degree of difficulty and extreme danger every time those gentlemen crank up the car. So being that you have secured 7 NASCAR championships, certainly there's been some bumps in the road. Do you remember a particular moment or a time where you just had a terrible accident?
The problem is I did this for like 35 years. And I had so many accidents and got hurt so bad so many times, I don't remember which one was the worst.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a good answer.
I've had 10 or 12 concussions, broke my neck a couple times, broke my nose, broke both shoulders, broke some fingers, broke a leg, tore a kneecap off here, broke both feet.
Wow.
And there might be some more, but
Is that enough?
the ribs, when it break ribs, that hurt worse than anything.
The ribs.
Because when you hurt a rib, or broke a rib, and you're hurting a little bit, you say, man, if I move just a little bit, and it hurts worse.
Wow.
Okay. So,
Wow.
so I think of all the accidents and all the wrecks, it was breaking ribs, even though it wasn't that spectacular.
Wow.
Breaking ribs probably hurt the worst.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's pivot. We've heard about pain. We've heard about the pain. Mr. Petty, what was your first victory like? The first time you took that checkered flag?
It was in a convertible race.
Wow.
Okay, 1958, in July, we went to Columbia, South Carolina, half mile dirt, and finished the race, come on. And a year later, on the same date, I won my first race at Columbia. That was convertible. That don't count on the 200.
So you're saying that NASCAR ran convertibles? Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely.
We got a car in the museum down there, and what we did, we had the hard top, so we cut the top off, and we bolted it back on. My dad had run it 1 week with the top on, I done bolted and went at the next week. It was locked off. But you didn't have but a couple of cars, and to be able to run both circuits, that's the only way we could do it.
Wow.
Go to the Petty Museum, you'll see the car he's talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. So your first victory, 1958,
58. But,
in a convertible.
but I ran a 59.
Okay.
Was the first win.
Yes, sir.
Then in 60, my first cup win was at the Charlotte Fairground in February.
Wow.
At Charlotte, at the old fairground.
Okay.
So that starts against the 200.
All right, all right, all right. That is amazing. All of these stories are just to me amazing.
Can I interrupt because I
Yes,
know
you
time?
can.
I want you all to join me and thanking the one, Shanique, Warwick, board members that's here. Let's give them a hand for what they're doing. Can I talk about that a little bit? I know you want to ask a question.
You Coach Scott. This is Coach Scott right now. Coach Scott is taking it.
Okay, May 23rd, 1952, my father ventured into a whole new world. That was stock car racing. He used to go to Danville Fairgrounds and watch a race with a friend of his. They'd sit in the stands, and he asked this guy named Joe Morris. He said, asked him if he wanted to do it. I said, yeah, I would love to do that. Well, later on, the Danville promoter wanted to get more fans, more African-American fans to the races. So they went to the police station, came with the idea, let's find out some of the African-Americans, or whatever you want to call it, Negro, color, whatever, black, all the same.
Right.
And they told him that if you want somebody that can drive fast, there's a rumor he might be a bootlegger. He had never been caught. And he can drive, they wrecked 9, they had 13 cars in the police department in Danville, and they had tore up 9 trying to catch the Phantom. They called him the Phantom. He had a pair of glasses with the lens knocked out, baseball cap, and a scarf he tied around his face. I used to go in his drawer at home and go in there and play with him. He wasn't there. And so they came to the garage and actually wanted to be a race car driver. So they said, I'd love to do that. And he had some bootleg cars, but he won't put them out there. So he got a car together, and he went down there that night. He said the seat broke. It was jumping out of gear. He ended up holding in gear with one hand, trying to hold himself in the seat with the other hand. But once he got that feel, that satisfied, he was that way, But what I want to say is that Wendell and Murray Scott left an indelible footprint in the history of NASCAR. Even today, it was joined at the hip. And my mother, when we were kids, my mother was always there, fixed meals for us on the road. But that has never been something that we've forgotten as a family. We love racing. So many things have transpired, and since that time, my father had all types of slogans he had used that motivate you. He'd say, you can't swim on the banks. If things get too tough for everybody else, it's just right for me. Quitting is not in the plan, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember we were in Columbia one night. We brought the rear end out. We had this truck with a winch. So we pushed it over there, and the winch burned out. We got the rear end, okay, go forward. And got to load that thing up. I was laying against the car. He came by, he said, Frank, he said, one day it's gonna be all right, son. He said, one day they're gonna write a book about me. I looked at my window and said, oh, you're gonna write a damn book on me. But since that time, a lot of things have happened. But we got a group of people that help us put the car up on the thing. But Martinsville Speedway, we raced here 23 times. Irvin Brooks, his dad and my dad were connected at the hip. I remember they had an incident up at Strader Field, and this group was gonna try to attack my father. And Earl grabbed a 2x4 and got up on the back on the bench and said, you wanna get to him, you gotta get to me first. But they were just friends, and we had a lot of friends in NASCAR, the Pettis in the Woods, and people like that. It was like people don't understand, it's really a fraternity. Racing, it's a fraternity, right? it's a brotherhood, really. Although they might fight a little bit or wreck each other, whatever like that, but then they go out and eat dinner together. But so much happened, and my father was just, he just loved the race. He was a mechanical genius with no formal education. He could build. We went to Daytona. I looked up today. We finished 13th in Daytona in '66. Well, we had gone down and he was building a motor. So he said, let's go down to Holman and Moody. That's where the Ford Distribution Center was. I need some pistons. So we went down there and they told him, well, we don't have no pistons or whatever. He said, well, it's a heat outside. You go out, anything you find, because they were going to take it to the salvage yard. And Dad, he said, oh, it's pistons. And he said, get a box. And we brought about 6 pistons. I said, this thing got a crack in it. He said, just do like I say. That's what you do. You try to question him, just do like I say. End of the conversation. So we came back and we put 4 pistons in that motor, finished 13th at Daytona, and with cracked pistons. And what he did, he took a drill bit and drilled a hole at the end of the crack. He said, that won't spread no more. Bigger than the crack. And he would finish the race. So he was a mechanical genius. He balanced his own engines. He did everything with very, nothing like dynamometers and stuff. He would just weigh everything. But he was just a wonderful father. And he said that he wanted to be, somebody asked him, what do you want to be remembered? First of all, I want to be remembered as a father. And then a race car driver. Not a black race car driver, not an African American, a race car driver. Okay, you understand? I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you.
So it is Martinsville race weekend. And we are ecstatic about it. We have our good friend Clay Campbell here. Clay, where's Clay? Is he in there?
He's in the back.
Chilling in the back. Chilling in the back. Let's talk about Martinsville. Let's reminisce about Martinsville, Tad. So there's a story of you as a student at North Carolina Central University. And there is a qualifying going on. And you're late to the race.
No, I had a teacher. I was taking a test and measurements class. He always wanted to meet at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. And you better not miss. So I couldn't come to Martinsville until after that. So I get to Martinsville, and the main road that used to come down, you get your pit pass in this ticket booth. And so I was coming, everybody was waving me. How these people, what are they waving, telling me to go for? So I got down there and I was getting ready to get pit pass. And the guy told me, said, no, said, come back and get that. Your dad is waiting for you. He needs your motor. So when I come across the track, Dad is standing on the apron. He said, Frank, come on. He said, I need your motor. I blew an engine this morning. So that's okay. So they already had the other motor out. And this involves, at that time, that motor had 2 4-barrels on it. It had a stroker kit that we got it from the Wood brothers. And that thing was, but we had changed the intake, make it single, change the oil pan, pick up everything. And somebody asked me, well, how'd y'all pull that motor out of that race car? Here he comes again. We got a truck. He sold my dad a truck or gave him one, whatever, the big truck.
Mm-hmm.
It has a arm that swings out. You pull the engine out. So we swung it out. That's how we changed the engine. We didn't lift it out of the motor. We had a chain horse, and that was that truck that we got from you. That gas.
You got it, huh?
Yeah, that gas goes.
So we did a segment with your son Kyle Petty, Coffee with Kyle. I encourage you all to go check them out. Wonderful, wonderful segment. So as we were doing this particular segment, Kyle saw the truck and he just got super excited because he hadn't seen it since childhood. And that same truck, I grew up in my grandfather's garage playing in and around this same truck that this story is about.
Well, this truck, it has 2 seats. And, we could take 7 people in there.
Right.
and on top of that, it had air conditioning. Air conditioning on a tow truck.
So Kyle says in the interview that when he saw the truck, it was the biggest truck that he had seen in your fleet of vehicles thus far. Do you remember that? Do you remember the truck brand new?
Yeah,
Can you share some memories of that?
Get a big truck, big box deal. Had race car on a trailer behind it.
Right.
But it was big enough to carry an extra motor,
Everything.
rear ends, and all your tools, wheels and stuff. So
Yeah.
up to that time, you had a pickup truck, so you couldn't carry a lot of stuff. So, I think we had a couple of them. Then as time progressed, we got a tractor trailer. So we sitting there, Wendell and them needed a truck. So, hey man, there's one sitting over there. We're not using.
Yeah.
And so first thing I know, they come and drove off in the vehicle.
We needed a truck.
And that truck still remains in our family
Yeah,
archive.
yeah.
It's soon we will be working on that.
Did y'all ever have a pickup truck?
Oh yeah, we had pickup trucks.
All I remember is that great big long Cadillac.
Oh Lord.
Which brings me to my next
Oh
point.
Lord. I gotta tell
I
that story
wanted you
now.
to talk about, so 'cause people may not understand how you all actually towed the race car. So my wife and I went to a race in Bristol, and we were coming through Hillsville. And so I called my dad and I was like, man, Dad, these hills in Hillsville are very dangerous. And he said, oh yeah, we used to tow the race car with a tow bar
Yeah.
up and down those hills.
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience about the limousine?
Okay. There's a funeral home in Danville, wasn't Danville, Cunningham Youth Funeral Home. And they had Cadillacs. But this limousine, they went up into an auction up in Maryland, and it was a 54 Cadillac. It had the presidential medallion in the glove box. Thing had bulletproof glass. It was an armored tank. So when Cunningham decided to switch over from Cadillacs to Imperial Chrysler's, Miss Hughes gave Daddy the Cadillac. Didn't have many miles on it. So in 1966, going back, we'd work up until the time we could get where we were going. So Dad had an operation that December still had. He said, and we got, counting the time, we had to be there by 10 o'clock, but they won't let you sign in. And so Dad asked me, said, my brother, when he was in the Army then, he said, Frank, how you feel? I said, I feel all right. He said, can you drive to Daytona? I said, yes, sir. Because he was, and so we left down that late that night, and my mother was on the outside door. My dad was sitting in the middle beside me. My four sisters, it had a bench row, it had a row of seats you could let out across the middle of it. Four of them sat there. We had two guys, two of our crewmen, mechanics, or whatever, with us. They were sitting on the back seat. They had the best seat in the house. That thing. So anyway, I get down in Jacksonville that morning and meet the state man. I'm running, I look down, I'm running 95, at least that. And I said, oh Lord. I said, Dad, I just met the state man. He looked up at me, sitting in the middle. He said, well, take him on to Daytona then. Take him on to Daytona. We couldn't stop. We didn't have 15 minutes to 10 minutes to get no ticket. Or go back and get, So anyway, they didn't turn around. You couldn't see in that car anyway, tinted windows. And we were pulling race car, a race car. But I'm running almost 100 miles an hour. And so I just put it on down. And I said, well, I don't know where they're gonna stop me. They got a roadblock, my widow, because he said, take it to Daytona. That's what we do. So that night we were staying in the neighborhood. We were going to, we couldn't get into motels and stuff like that. So we stay in the community. Daddy would put the ladies in one house, put the men in another, people. And so we went outside after we ate. I said, Dad, you told me to take that man to Daytona this morning. You know he gonna lock me up? That's all he said. Well, I'd have got you out. He was cool like that. He didn't never panic. So I'd have got you out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But Mr. Petty, what do you have a best memory or a great memory in regards to Martinsville Speedway? We obviously got Martinsville coming up this weekend. The playoffs are going on. This is going to be an intense race. The stakes are high. You are the best in class. Do you have any fond memory, like a particular memory of Martinsville?
I always looked at Martinsville as being a home track.
Yeah,
It's like 65 miles or something, the racetrack. And we always had good luck. The first, I think I'd won a 100-mile race, but the first 250-mile race, was at Martinsville, I think 1960 or something. And it was just one of the racetracks that for some reason it didn't our style. Our car, Bill set it up, decent pit crew, and had a lot of good luck. And so, you know, we're always looking forward to going to Martinsville. In fact, they were 6, 8 years there. There wasn't no need, nobody coming except for second, you know. And so we always look forward, and we're still looking forward to Sunday.
Yes.
They got some new cars that we're running on these tracks, and they got a new tire for the track. Everything's going to be a little bit different than what it's been. So, you know, hopefully we get one of our cars to run as good as what I used to run.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they're going to have to pick it up a little
That's
bit.
right. That's right.
Guess
That's
how many
right.
wins? Martin, anybody know? 15 wins.
15.
15
There it
wins.
is. That is amazing.
I think Dad won a couple of 3 races.
He did. I remember.
In fact, I think he won a couple of dirt tracks. Because it was dirt till 1955, I think.
Yes.
And then the time I come along, it was all asphalt. Then they tore up the asphalt, had to put down cement because they kept tearing up the corner. So right now, it's probably the best short track. I mean, no matter where you sit, you can see what's going on at the racetrack.
Martinsville,
And
stand up.
and
You heard what he said.
always
Martinsville, stand up. It is the best. That's a big win for the South Side because obviously you would know.
Yeah, everybody
Yes.
knows.
Yes. So I would like to ask lightning round. We're running out of time here. I just real quickly want to ask you, Mr. Petty, and then I'll ask you next. What is your most proud moment? The moment that you are most proud of within your career in NASCAR?
Kind of corny. My proudest moment is that all that stuff that happened, I'm still sitting here.
Hey, absolutely. Well said, well played. Daddy, you up.
Well, I would have to say my father's cup win. You know, well, you know, amazing thing about him. In his second year in Cup, Grand Nationals, they call it, he set a half-mile dirt track record in Savannah, Georgia. And that record stood for, if you go back and see, half-mile dirt, that time he had stood for about 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Okay. And then in his next year, in 1963, December 1st, he won a race in Jacksonville. And a little bit about that race. That track, Richard know how it was, with no but the clay potholes. So Daddy decided to soften up his suspension. And how did he do that? He took normally we run 2 shocks on each wheel, right? So he took, he called it, he said, I de-shocked the car. That's what he said. He took, just had 1 shock on each wheel. And he also, the left front shock was the softest shock. He put forward in when we ran. He said, boy, I was just riding like I was a limousine. And I think, Richard, he took a lead from you, he broke or something happened.
Yeah.
27 laps ago.
We broke the steering or something.
Yeah.
That was as rough a racetrack as we've ever seen.
Yeah, that thing had holes that deep. But so those were remarkable things. And another thing I'm proud of is that we finally got my father's trophy.
Now speaking of that trophy, and this will be my last comment because I want to leave some room for a quick Q&A, and I want to invite Clay Campbell, who is here with us this evening. I would like to invite him to the stage.
Yes.
To join us. But this is Legendary Conversations. And I would like to point out that you may not realize that the Jacksonville 200, obviously the first time that an African-American team owner or driver that's competing full-time in NASCAR wins in NASCAR. But we have someone sitting on stage that was actually there. Okay? You read about it, but there are not many people left that were there. And he was there. And so to hear him say how rough the track was and what the terrain was, I'm especially proud of it, because I've always known that my grandfather made great sacrifices in order to provide for his family. And I always knew that he was a genius, especially through engineering. At the Wendell Scott Foundation, our platform is STEM education blended with mentoring. And so my grandfather, knowing that he was an engineering savant and could work those type of solutions and work those problems out, as I've studied my grandfather over the years, to be sitting next to Mr. Petty, and for him to just authenticate and say that, yeah, that track was terrible, right? You got it here first. You won't get that conversation anywhere else. You won't find it on YouTube or any podcast. And so I think that's worth a round of applause all by itself. Now, we want to do a Q&A. Clay, would you join us on stage, please? Everybody, let's give Mr.
Race driver, he's a race driver
Watch
too.
how fast I do it. Watch how fast I put it back on. Bang. All right, come on. Room for
Yeah.
All right. Small. So, Clay, can you share with us briefly the history of Martinsville? Really tell us anything you want us to know about the track. I know you made so many improvements to the track. The track has evolved. We sat on stage last year on the other side of the room, having these conversations. We are so humbled and grateful to have you. This is NASCAR's 75th anniversary. This is the diamond year. Clay, can you share with us just anything that you like about Martinsville?
Yeah, and it's a lot, being this is 76 years for us, but I feel odd sitting between these two gentlemen here. I'm on the boring side of the fence. Okay, I'm on the business side, so I don't have the stories that these two gentlemen have. But you know, if you look back at NASCAR, we predated NASCAR by a year.
Wow.
My grandfather founded in 47. NASCAR started 48.
Wow.
So been around a long time. I think you said it was paved in 55, right? So for my time when it was dirt and for my time when it was paved, thank goodness. But it's come a long way. And if you look, you mentioned the excitement and what it means to Martinsville and Henry County being the penultimate race for the playoffs. I mean, this is the one that decides who the four guys are that go to Phoenix for the championship.
That's right.
And I had numerous interviews today, and I said, if someone gave us the opportunity to have the championship race, I'm not sure I'd rather have the one we've got.
Oh yeah.
You got 8 guys going for the 4 spots, and actually you got 6 now because 2 of them have punched their ticket to Phoenix. But you got 6 guys vying for the 4 spots. It doesn't get any more intense than that. So as Richard said, it's going to be a great race weekend. But every year to your question, every year we try to improve something. If you come here in April and you go back in September, October, you're going to see something different.
Yes.
Every year. And that's been the way we've done it, going back to my grandfather's days. And you know, another thing, number one, we wouldn't be here without fans.
Yes.
The fans have made Martinsville what it is, Speedway. And I say, when we sell a fan a ticket, we're not really selling a ticket. We're selling a memory.
That's right.
And when they leave, excuse me, when they leave, it's either going to be a good memory or a bad. And if it's a bad one, somewhere along the line, we have failed. So that's what I think, that's one thing that has kept us relevant. And it hasn't been easy. I mean, for so long, we were the lone ship at sea, being an independent track. And by that, I mean, there's, you know, 2 companies that pretty much own most of the tracks. We're part of NASCAR now that owns Martinsville. But when we were independent, you know, everything was done, you know, with us. Now, if I have an issue, all I got to do is pick up the phone and call one of my peers at another track, and we pretty much got it figured out. But it's been such an enormous life for me. I can't show everybody the picture, but I got a picture with this guy here when I was really little. And I've always said, people call him the king. He treated me like a king, excuse me, when I was just a little guy that didn't know anything.
That's how it is.
Same thing with Wendell. I remember I started to wear a blue coat to commemorate both of the colors. I know he had a red cart once, but
Yeah.
I remember the light blue.
Yeah, yeah.
And was there anything special about, I think about that number 34 and this guy over
Good
here,
question.
43.
Good
It's
question.
just,
Well,
Good
We
question.
told NASCAR we let him run 43 with 34. No, they'll sign it.
but I'll never forget that. And your dad was always really nice to me. So got a long history in this sport, and I don't know of anything better than NASCAR.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now we're running a little over, but that's okay. We appreciate your patience. God knows we are so excited that you are all here, and I would like to open the floor for a few questions. Yes, sir.
I won my first race when I was 8 years old, 1959. Is there a patent on the color petty blue?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Special number on the podium. It's registered deal. You can buy that.
Can you explain how it felt when you were racing convertibles in a race?
Hey, man, I'd never run in any kind of car. So when I got in the convertible, it didn't make any difference. I mean, if it had top on it or not, I wasn't looking at the sun.
Yes, Irvin. Yes.
Yes, Richard, he said some mighty hard hits. I seen him hit Wally Ash for Wiggleball one time. That was a pretty hard, I think you remember that one. I seen him hit Wally Ash for Wiggleball one time in a '69 arena.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all heard me or not.
I heard you now.
Okay. I was going to ask Richard, he took some hard licks in his day, and I've seen him take some, but I seen him take the hardest one I think he ever took, and he may remember it at Asheville Weavable Speedway in a '69 Torino.
You know, coming off the fourth turn, blew a tire and hit a cement wall. And behind the cement wall was dirt. That was, they just got down. And it hit the wall so hard, it knocked the windshield completely out of the car.
Whoa.
You mean? And broke all my ribs. How many is over here? And then the next week, we went to Darlington. And so I jump in the car. I go out. I run through 3 and 4 corners pretty hard. And then it takes my breath. I finally get the car stopped at the end of the road, at the end of the front stretch. And after that, going up, we got some pasteboard and we taped it on the deal. Before the race started, I took 2 shots of Novocaine, right in the deal. Well, that lasted for about 50 laps. So, but anyhow, that was probably as hard as a lick, even though you've seen the car turn over, pieces fly off of it. As long as the car is moving, then most of the time people don't get hurt. It's when you stop, G-force all comes at one time.
That's
And that's the way it does actually.
Yes, sir. Mr. Drury.
I'd like to ask Mr. Scott, did you ever drive or did you ever have the inclination to get behind the wheel?
My whole life I had the inclination, but I never got the opportunity really. But I used to go out and practice. Matter of fact, I had a wreck at Bristol. G.C. Spencer thought it was dead and came beside me. And we had already qualified for the race too. And so all thing Dad said was, "Boy, see that long mirror? He was to use that mirror right there." You know. But I was about to start and park stuff. We got a second car. We got the car that Kale drove for Junior in '66. We didn't have enough parts to put it together. We went to Savannah. They had a total of 65. That kind of ended my chance to really. So I took on a different role, for my father, managerial role. And I used to like to go out and run a few laps. They could let you do that then. They didn't, so I did that. But my brother actually drove quite a few races. One time my father was ill. And hold on a minute, George Hannah's hold your hand up. one of our crewmen right there sitting there, George. Yeah.
You gotta
And,
hold it up
other
higher than
people-
that, George. Go ahead and let the people know.
But anyway, that's the part that, I think I did all right though. Can I close out with something? I'll let
I
you
want
finish up.
to do a few more questions.
Okay.
few more questions.
I want to share something.
Any more questions in the back? Can we get somebody in the back maybe? Want to spread the love throughout the room. Mr. Dillard, yes. Can we get him a microphone?
First, I just want to say, just grateful to be here tonight. We grew up in a history. Coach Scott was our coach, and he was like a great father figure to us. He was a coach growing up, and shared a lot of stories with a lot of our youth, just for the history that we have, that we grew up in, that we didn't know a great deal about what we seen, and we heard the stories. And I just want to say thank you. Because Mr. Scott, Wendell Scott was at all of our games, and just the love that we received from the family. So sharing those incredible stories and history with kids that we had the opportunity, I have had the opportunity of working with along this, along my career has been great. But I have one question to ask, as you brought up the truck, okay? Because I have been using this to talk to kids just to find that connection. That truck, is that Maynard on the movie Cars?
Is the truck what now?
Maynard.
Mater.
Maynard. On the
No,
movie Cars.
Mater is, okay, now you got some Cars alumni up here on stage, okay? Mr. Petty was the first driver into the Cars franchise. But no, Mater is not particularly one of the Scott family's trucks. However, River Scott, the character that was in the last Cars film, Cars 3, is inspired and authenticated by us and was included in the Cars 3 franchise. And we're very, very proud. We're very proud of that.
Tell them where it is when they see it. Tell them where the 11 car is. Tell them where it is.
Oh, now the 11 car, the car that is featured in the Cars 3 franchise is actually at the Petty Museum on display in Level Cross. So if you're looking for a cool Saturday vibe, put some music on, hop in the car, go down to Petty Museum, get some good barbecue, get some good history, get some good vibrations. And I promise you, if you are a car aficionado, then you will be more than pleased. Any more questions? I want to try to get two from the back of the room, maybe? Yes.
Yeah, this is from Mr. Petty. Y'all introduced the spoiler system into the racetrack years ago, and I was just wondering if it was a defining moment about, what made you realize that a spoiler would create a downforce on the back of the car to help with prevent it from like fishtailing around the curves. Was it a defining moment on that? And did y'all use wind tunnel testing to determine the angle of the spoilers on that?
Really, the 1966, 67. Yeah, Dodge came with a fastback car. They come to Daytona, and they couldn't run because the car fishtailed right. Somebody said, okay, we'll put a spoiler on. So the Dodge was the first car to have a spoiler. After that, they let all the rest of the cars have spoilers. And now the cars, they go through wind tunnels and all that. So when we used to run the car, then the car was lift, the front end of it. But without the spoiler, the rear lifted the post, so the car got loose. And so somewhere along in the mid-60s, they started putting spoilers on cars, and then they started looking at aero, and now the cars are so aero that it's hard for them to run with each other. Before, Chevrolet might be better drafting, and Ford might be better. Now they got them all down pretty much the same. And that's the reason when you see Daytona and Talladega, 35 cars in a pack. You never used to see that. But that's when the spoiler came back.
Wonderful. Yes.
I want to start off by saying thank you for this event. It's been amazing. I'm new to NASCAR. I'm originally from Michigan, moved to Danville about a year and a half ago. My father-in-law is a big NASCAR fan. So as a new person to NASCAR, I'm learning so much. I'm being intrigued by what you guys do. Is there any misconception about NASCAR that you think you could dispel by letting us know so I can go tell others to get involved and learn more about NASCAR?
Who was that question? Just to the, okay.
That's got a hard question. No, there are no misconceptions. I mean, NASCAR, we have a very good working relationship with NASCAR, and we consider ourselves part of that NASCAR family. Obviously, we're not going to agree with everything, every decision, but we're not in decision-making business. So if they make a decision about something, we have to accept it and say, well, they had a reason for that. So we don't have any, I can't say anything negative about NASCAR. We have a good relationship with them. Of course, you all know that my father's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and the director of the NASCAR Hall of Fame is with us. Kelly,
Mr.
would you
Winston
stand
Kelly,
up?
please stand.
Stand up, buddy. I invite you all to go and visit Petty Museum, come to the race. This weekend, a lot of things start on Friday night, Saturday night, tomorrow night.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a great thing. There are always going to be detractors, about anything. I was in a city one time and I went to this bookstore. I said, I'll go back and see if my dad's name is in these racing books back here. So I looked in the index and found my dad's name. This one particular book said, yeah, before Wendell got in the car, he drank a half a pound of moonshine and lit a 12-inch cigar, and all that's lies. One thing my father didn't drink, he didn't smoke. And somebody say they haul a little bit, but he didn't drink and he didn't smoke. So there are a lot of misconceptions about stuff.
Okay, what last question, go.
So, Mr. Campbell, when did you start giving away the clock as a trophy? And Mr. Petty, how many do you have?
Good question.
We gave the first trophy away in 1964 to Fred Lorenzen. The way that clock got started, it was just something my grandfather wanted to give more than just a cup, something that the drivers would put in a prominent place in their home, never intending it to be the significant, probably the most sought after trophy in all of motorsports now. You don't want to be around his house when it's a quarter after or whatever. I can tell you, it's 15 of them. So
let me tell you about the trophies. They give away a grandmother clock, just so big, and so his grandfather. I went to him and I said, look, I got a bunch of these. Give me one of these big ones. And he said, well, if Kale wins a race or Junior, somebody wins, they'll want one. I said, well, when they win 15 races, you can give them. But anyhow, once they seen the big clock, nobody wanted a small one. So they give away the big one now.
Wonderful. Yes, Miss Scott.
This is for my father-in-law. How do you think Wendell Scott's accomplishments and challenges have influenced diversity and inclusion efforts within NASCAR today?
Well, he broke the glass ceiling, and I think that the drivers today, the minority drivers, actually, they standing on his shoulders. And if you see an interview that he does, you look on YouTube, one of the things that Neil Jarrett was interviewing him, and he asked my father, he said, I guess you look back and you think, well, you wish you hadn't have done this or whatever like that. He said, no, I'll do it again. He said, what I do hope is that what I have done will inspire and help other minorities to get into racing. You can see that on YouTube. Just look it up. That was the comment that he made. He always said that. I hope I can open doors. Well, he predicted so many things anyway. You don't know, he had a crystal ball or something. But he was saying that he hoped that what he did would make a difference for other people, and it has. Roger, Bubba, people like that went on.
You think about too, that ironic part of this, Bubba Wallace won his first truck race
Sure
at
did.
Martinsville,
That's right.
driving a pale blue 34, right?
34 truck.
That's right.
And commemorating Wendell Scott. Pretty cool.
I think that picture's down here,
It is.
down
It
here.
is.
So I bow down and look in there. Let me say this, and I work out, I gotta say this stuff. This is to compliment Warwick, Shanique, the Wendell Scott Foundation board, and all the friends. We have friends in this room from all over California, everywhere. I'm not gonna name names, but you know who you are, you know what you've done, you know what you're doing. When Warwick decided, we got a call, my wife and I were laying in bed one morning, about 2:30 in the morning, and the phone rang. And the first thing Mabel heard Warwick's voice. First, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? He was in a nightclub business in Raleigh. We didn't want him to be in it, but he was in it.
I was doing pretty good.
You were doing pretty good. But you told me you were gonna be selective, people coming in, the big money came on in. But anyway, he said, Shanique and I have been talking about moving back to Danville. Started Wendell Scott Foundation in Danville. They were already doing great community things in Raleigh. So why not bring it home? So when Warwick told me that, he didn't know that over 60 years ago, we were returning from a race week. We found a town we could go in and eat breakfast. We hadn't had anything to eat in 24, 36 hours anyway. And so we went in there and ordered breakfast. You bring them big bowls of pork chops and potatoes and stuff. So they set it out there, and I was sitting beside Dad, and he was looking out like a picture window. And I said, Dad, come on, man, the food's here, the food's here. He said, no, he said, look out there. He said, see those kids out there playing? Some of them don't have shirts on, some of them don't have shoes on. No telling where they slept. He said, I'm almost sure they haven't had any breakfast. He said, if I ever become wealthy doing what I'm doing, that's what he said, he ain't said racing, doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna build orphanage homes all over the South for kids just like that. And he put a caveat on it. He said, not just black kids. That's what he said.
All right. Well, I mean, I am amazed by our conversation here. I would leave it to you all to tell us, do you all feel as though this was a legendary conversation? Can you just show about round of applause? Thank you for that. So with no further ado, we thank you all for coming out and spending your valuable time with us. We hope that you will leave inspired. We hope that you will leave looking forward to the upcoming race weekend. And please, if you have a chance, follow the Wendell Scott Foundation. Look for ways to support our work and our efforts. For those who know me, if you ever wonder what my why was, I think it is abundantly clear why I do what I do and who I do it for. We are completely dedicated to empowering and leveling the playing field and the odds for children that find themselves in underdog type of situations. And that's what we stand for. It is our life's work, and we'll be doing it until we expire. I want to take this time to, where's Joe? Come on up here, Joe. Come on up here, Joe. I want to introduce everyone. For those who do not know, this is Joe Sumner. He is the new executive director here at the New College Institute, and they have been the most gracious hosts, wonderful with their facilities. And let's just please give Joe a big round of applause. Joe, would you like to share a few words with the people before we go?
I would just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out and joining us tonight. I want to thank the Wendell Scott Foundation, the Scott family, Mr. Campbell, and of course, the King himself. I believe this is truly a historic night. It really is. I'd like to think it is, you mentioned the second one, so let's call it the second of many. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got the chance to hear firsthand accounts from men who have set records and broken barriers. And that's something that most people don't get to hear a firsthand account from the people that lived it themselves. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. My sincerest gratitude to each of you gentlemen, and especially my good friend, Mr. Ward. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I encourage you all to have safe travels home. Thank you for coming. Get your radios and everything ready because it's race weekend in Martinsville and we representing the South Side. So
There you go.
congratulations.
There you go.
Thank you.
We'll see you there. Thank you so much. Make sure that's all we have. Good part. Not South Park.